Welcome back, everybody, to Boots, Shoots, and Buckles. Today, we're sitting down with Sage Vance. He's a bull rider who's making waves in the arena. He's currently ranked number one in the BBB World Standings, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about his journey, his mindset, and what it takes for him to hold on to those bulls for 8 seconds. Welcome on, Sage.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So, where are you tuning in from, Sage?
Just outside of Lincoln, Nebraska.
And what are you doing there?
This is kind of my home base, so I'm in between events right now.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So, Sage, I heard about you, especially after the weekend of the National Western Stock Show. How many days were you in town in Denver for that?
I was there for a week, but I only competed for 4 days.
For 4 days, yeah. And
Or
how'd that
3 days. Sorry.
3 days, yeah. And how'd that process work, Sage? So you were up in Nebraska when you got the call down to haul over here, or how'd that work?
I was actually staying in Ohio over the winter. There's not much going on back home here in Nebraska, so I go out to Ohio for the winter, and I can hit some on-end events out there. But I talked to one of the stock contractors, and he said a lot of times it's super easy for guys to walk up and enter and kind of use that platform to get in. So I bought a plane ticket and headed out there, and I basically gave myself a week, and I didn't get in until the very last day.
And how does that registering to those events process work? So do you need a PRCA card to get in?
Yeah, you either need a permit or a card for your membership. I'm on my permit right now, which is kind of like a probation ish. You They kind of filter what events you can go to, what you can get into, stuff like that. And then after you get a certain amount of money won and qualifications and things, then you can buy your card, and that's your card is what gets you into the big shows, San Antonio, Houston, all the big stock shows, and then going into the summer like Cheyenne and all those.
Talking about the event here in Denver. So how'd those nights turn out for you? So you obviously came out pretty well, right? Coming in just like you said, just kind of taking your shot out here. You made a big name for yourself, right?
Yeah, my first bull, I was just fighting my head mentally. I didn't really know what to expect, and I kind of put a lot of pressure on myself. So I made the process 10 times harder than it needed to be. But my first bull was good. Come from Bailey Pro Rodeo, and he was just out there around the right, and he he bucked me off 6 seconds ish maybe. And then once I kind of got the first one out of the way, everything was a lot easier mentally, and then I could just let my body take over, and I rode the next three all the way up through the short round.
And coming into the short round, so you were competing with who was filtered out for those short rounds, the bigger names in town.
In the short round was Stetson Wright, TJ Gray, Wasey Shawla, um, Tyler Kipps. Those were the four that stayed on in the short round aside from me. Um, and then I can't remember off the top of my head who else was competing without looking at a sheet, but there was 12 of us, I believe, total, and five of us stayed on.
And looking at or reflecting back now, now that you had some time to let that sink in, what is like that gratification like of knowing that, you're capable of coming to these big events and making a name for yourself, competitively against guys that are real popular in the PRCA circuit?
The biggest thing that stuck with me is it's all just bull riding. I mean, it says National Western Stock Show, and it's big, and the guys that they've been around, done that. Stetson Wright, 8-time world champion, but it's all just bull riding at the end of the day. Like even Stetson, I'd never been around him before or anything, and he was in the locker room, and I went sat right next to him and had a 15-20 minute conversation, and I mean, it was just a normal talk. You you couldn't tell the difference in levels or, where we were competing or what we were doing. We were just talking like normal people. And that's kind of the mentality that all of those guys had going into that event. I learned it very quickly. And now that I know it, I mean, it makes things 10 times easier going into those events next time.
We talk about this world of rodeo, and the atmosphere that we're around, on the daily basis, weekly basis, kind of like for yourself. But where did all this passion for the sport come from you, Sage?
I rode a little bit when I was younger, like 2012 to 2013, 14. And then I had some family stuff come up and wasn't able to compete for quite a while. But my brother was still fighting bulls, cowboy protection. He did a little bit of freestyles, but he was mainly in the protection side. And I went and traveled with him for a week in like 2019 out in Colorado, going to some amateur events. And then I came home and said that I wanted to do it again. And so my dad sat me down and basically said, "You're more than welcome to do it, but you're going to do it my way and we're going to do it the right way." And that basically started it. And then throughout baby steps and a very long process, I'm here.
What was that process like? Was it just kind of foundations of getting on small stock first, or was it kind of building up that body to, take the strain, that we build that we have doing this sport?
It was a little bit of building up my body, maturing physically and mentally, but also like what stock I was getting on and the people that I was around. The 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 people you surround yourself is definitely one of the top three biggest things of whether you're going to make it or break it in rodeo, in my opinion. It's all depends on who you surround yourself with.
In your case, who have been some of those people that, have helped pave the way for you?
In the beginning, I was just going to amateur rodeos, just talk. I always talk to everybody. I try to learn everybody's names, figure out who they are, stuff like that. Not, just to know. Um, but like now that I've gotten more comfortable with the environments, I've started riding, staying on bulls and things. Anymore, I'm constantly reaching out to those bigger name guys. Wasey Shala, Trevor Rice, Stetson Wright, Kai Hamilton, all those guys. I try to talk to those guys as much as I can and surround myself with them because they're at the level where I want to be, and they've, most of them have been there, done that. So those are the guys I'm trying to surround myself with because I know that with guidance from them, I can get there.
Can get there. Now that you're hitting up a lot of the deals, Sage, was there a specific moment in time that you said, you know what, I think I have a certain level that I'm willing to, travel to these rodeos in different states every weekend, or, I have this rodeo on the calendar that I really want to. Was there a specific kind of like set point that you were like, you know what, I'm ready?
It came down to my percentages. I made up here in Iowa. Shad Smith puts on a series, the Double S Extreme Bull Riding Tour. It's an amateur series, just kind of goes around Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri, stuff like that. A couple in Minnesota, and I had made a deal with him that I had to ride over 50% of my bulls to get my PRCA permit. So I rode over 60% 2 years in a row and then got my permit just to solidify it, like that. I did good this year, but let's do it one more year just to mature mentally,
Mhm.
and physically, because I'm only 22 years old, so my body's still got a lot of time to grow and mature and things along with my mind. But I made a set deal with him, and then I beat it 2 years in a row. So then it was finally time to get my permit. And, even since I've got my permit, I'm right now, I think I'm riding right about 82% for what I've gotten on since January 1st, which I've been on, you know, 30 bulls, but as of right now, I see that as good, and I'm happy with it.
With the
And I
consistency, right? Yeah, the
yeah,
consistent
the
factor.
consistency.
Mhm. Talk to me a little bit about the training that you've done. So you talked a little bit about that mental training and physical training. How was the mental side of the game focused in on you?
The mental side, I just talk to people. Um, I going back to those bigger name guys. I talk to all those guys, and I I take everything that those guys do, and I'll pull out all the bits and pieces that work for me, and I'll find what works for me, and then I'll apply that to what I'm doing, because everybody does things differently. There's no two guys in rodeo that can do the same thing, especially in the rough stock event. Um, so I kind of take bits and pieces and figure out what works for me, and then I apply it to what I'm doing.
And how about for the physical side? So what is your training that you do or specific maybe things that you do to prevent injuries, you know?
So during the winter, I'm a lot bigger into like taking breaks, letting my body have time to heal, watching what I'm eating, drinking, really taking care of myself, giving my body plenty of time and protein and the energies that it needs to be 100%. During the summer, I can't always say that just because it gets hard being on the road, being able to pick your meals and stuff, it gets hard. But I I definitely try to get as much time as I can to take breaks, take a week off or even up to 3 weeks to a month off and just let my body relax and heal. Uh, I'm seeing chiropractors consistently. You know, I've got all kinds of the precision massage guns and things, keeping those muscles loose and everything, ice, heat, all that. Just trying to give my muscles every chance they can to relax and basically I don't know if regrow is the word, but let the muscles regrow themselves and do the work themselves to make themselves stronger instead of trying to give them, you know, some type of extra help, because
Push,
I
yeah.
want that muscle to come back on its own and be twice as strong,
Mhm.
almost build up like an immunity, like a sickness.
For sure.
Um, so I I really like the taking breaks part, trying to let my body do it itself as much as it can
Mhm.
within reason.
Moving on, kind of like what you said, you're basically on a roll. You're killing every event that you're going to right now.
Mm-hmm.
Sage, talk to me about the BBB. So I've seen a lot of those posts, especially you with that cool belt,
Mm-hmm.
with that cool belt that they're giving out. But talk to me about bulls, bands, and barrels since we don't have it over here in Colorado.
Um, I just started going to them this year. They so the event themselves, it's got bull riding, freestyle bullfighting, barrel racing, and then a band afterwards, or like a concert. They've got an opener and then a main event show. Um, the bull riding is two head, a long round, and then you've got the freestyles and the barrel racing, and then it goes into a 6-man short round, and then you've got the concert after. Um, I I've been to 7 of them, I believe. Yeah, I've been to 7 of them. I've won 4 of them. I placed at one. I got a second place finish at one. I've won 4 of them, and I bucked off at one. So I've been to 6 of them so far. They've had 8 total this year. 2 of them I missed. They were way down south in Louisiana, and it was just tough to make it. I think I went to other events closer to home, but no, I like them. The money's good. The bulls are good. Overall, I think it's a good event, especially for guys that kind of have their riding style and are ready for that next step. They can kind of step into the game, and they've got a little bit better money and things, but it's
Talking
not quite
about
at that professional level.
at that professional level. And what stock contractors bring their bulls there?
Mainly, it's Generations Pro Rodeo, Klein Hall out of Ashflat, Missouri, or Ashflat, Arkansas. Sorry, and then B Bar K, which is Cross Done out of Alabama. Those are the two main contractors. I know, like in Wisconsin, they had Corey Check. He brought a couple in long round and then all of the short rounds. I know when they go to Oklahoma this fall, there's going to be another contractor. It just kind of depends on where the event's at. I'm I'm still new, so I'm trying to learn
Mhm.
almost just as much, but so far it's mainly been Generations and Cross Down.
Being so high in the standings of the BBB, is there any added pressure for yourself, or is it just kind of motivation of saying, you know what, I'm right where I need to be?
I I don't even look at it honestly. The standings, whether I'm first or 10th or 20th, I'm still going to get on bulls, and my goal is to ride my bull the best that I can. I Every time I get on, I want to be marked at least 2 points over the bull score, and that's just a personal goal for me.
You
I
talk
want to do
about,
everything. Go
you
ahead.
told me a little bit about the writing style, and how that getting that down kind of increases the confidence of the riders, establishes kind of what you need to do every time you're in that shoot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit about how you got your certain writing style. What guy do you try to emulate, and what was that process like of getting that down?
It's For me, it's the same thing as the mental game. You know, I kind of pick things up from different guys here and there, and then I put them together for what works for me. Because I'm 5'8" and 130 pounds on a good day, and I don't ride this, or I don't have the same build as Stetson or JB Mooney or any of those guys. You you could pull all 15 guys out of the NFR, and me and Jeter Lawrence are pretty close in weight, but he's 2, 3, 4 inches shorter than me, and then you pull out TJ Gray, and me and TJ Gray are roughly the same height, and he's probably got another 20 pounds on me, you
Mhm.
know. So you kind of have to pick and choose and say, okay, he rode that bull really well. What did he do? And then kind of try to emulate it. And then once you find what works for you, then you can go from there and work on it.
Talking about rope types, do you like the classic American or Brazilian?
I'm riding in. So when I first started, I had an old grass rope American.
Okay.
My dad rode in it out of the 90s, flat block, baby nine, and I rode in that for a long time, but I was always getting hung up. So I switched over to a Brazilian, you know,
Hmm.
straight out of Brazilian. No cut corners, nothing. Um, and I rode with that rope. I bought that rope in 2020 when I started getting on again, and I rode with that rope for 4 years. I probably got on 300 bulls with it, 250 to 300 bulls in four
Yeah.
years. Um, and I've got that rope hanging in my Capri right now, and I
Mhm.
trust it every bit. If I needed a rope to get on, I could go grab that rope right now and I can go get on it. But right now, I just had JW Downs out of Iowa build me a new Brazilian,
Okay.
and I kind of tried to model it after that rope that I had in the beginning. The only difference is I took a wrap or two out of the handle. So instead of it being super stiff and rock solid like a typical Brazilian, it's got a little bit more give to be able to break over so I can drive to the front. Um,
Okay.
it's still stiff enough where it's not going to roll over like an American, but it's going to break over to where I can really drive and get up over it instead of really holding me down.
And talking spurs, is there a specific set degree that you like going for? Have you messed with the degrees of your spurs, the how long they are, anything?
When I first started, I had a pair of 2.5 inch spurs. I don't know the degree on them or anything. My dad rode in them, and I put them on and I tried to work, and I never really could grab with them. I've got a really bad issue with not being able to turn out my feet.
Yeah.
When you know, I could be in the chutes and I can have my toes east and west, and as soon as that bull goes to nod, my toes go straight into his armpits,
Yeah.
and almost want to dig in with my toes. But now I I traded a kid 2 pairs of starch jeans for a pair of Spurs at an amateur bull riding 2 years ago, and they're homemade. He bought them from another guy, and they're made out of a rasp with 3-inch shanks on them. And I was in welding school at the time, so I took them to a vise and I turned them in, so they're almost like a J now. Um, I turned my feet probably 45 degrees, and my rowels are innable. So not quite east and west, but just enough, you know. And my rowels are grabbing like crazy. But
Yeah.
I don't know degrees or anything. I just bent them in to where it felt comfortable for my feet, and I would bend them back and forth. It probably took me 2 or 3 weeks to figure out what I like. I got on 10 bulls, and once I figured out what I liked, I ran with that.
Yeah, whatever works works, especially nowadays, huh? We see
Yep.
a bunch of people, bunch of guys with different gear styles, different stuff. So
Yep.
it's whatever, and kind of like what you were saying, no two riders are gonna be ever the same.
Yep.
Steering a little bit into going back in time. So, how do you think coming from a rodeo family or your dad that rode bulls, do you think that's kind of helped you in a way that, that's kind of like that old school mentality that's helping you now? Or do you think it's also been just kind of like having his support and seeing that there's, motivation to do something that's ran in the family?
Um, it definitely helps because the connections that he made back when he was writing is helping me now. I can go just about any of the lower 48 states and find someone that knows him or vice versa from riding or rodeoing, or through the grapevine know somebody, and I can either go ask them for advice, or hey, I need a place to stay, you know, I've got something going on, or something like that. There's always a helping hand out there, and just having that extra connection is really nice. But then 90% of them have been on a bull before, so I can sit there and talk to them about that, or be able to break something down while I'm around, you know.
Mhm. Aside from the sport of rodeo, Sage, what are some of your other hobbies that you like doing around, to distract the
I hunt,
mind, or is it just bull riding and that's it?
I I hunt and fish.
Hunt
With
and fish.
Yeah, if I could hunt every day of the year, I probably would. Um, I like fishing a lot too. I last September I went on a trip up to Alaska and went on a self-guided salmon fishing trip, which
Mm.
was really cool. And then in May of this year, I'm going back up to the Alaska, up to the islands, going on a self-guided black bear hunt.
Ooh,
So
that'll
I'm
be sweet, yeah.
I'm rodeoing as much as I can, but I'm trying to take all these opportunities to get out and explore outside of rodeo while I'm still, in my 20s, and I can still afford to do it physically and financially.
And financially, yeah. And kind of now that you're talking about the future events and what you're doing, do you have any specific calendar events that you might want to do come this spring and summer run that's coming around? Obviously, the BBB is probably on your schedule right now that you're competing in it so often.
Yeah, being only Saturday events, um, I'll keep going to those. It's one day. They've got 4 left for the first part of the summer, and then starting up in July, August, they've got another 7 to 10, I think, and they're only Saturday nights. So I'm gonna hit those, and then I'll filter in as many pro rodeos as I can around those. If I can hit a Wednesday, Thursday pro rodeo, or even a Monday or something, all fairly close, try to make runs out of them as much as I can, and multiply my chances of making money.
Yeah, which is always the goal at the end of the day in
Yeah.
the sport, right? Yeah, once you're competitive enough. And
Yep.
Sage, do you do most of your traveling on your own, or is it just a group of guys that you like hauling around with?
Most of it's on my own. It I like to. get up and go. Um, and I also like to, I guess I don't really know how to put this. Most of the guys that I'm around right now are running day jobs and things, I guess would be a better way to start.
Mhm.
Um, and like this last weekend, we went to Jacksonville, Florida. You know, we flew down on Thursday and came back on Sunday. And we had to get up and go at 4 a.m. to make it back so that he could get to work on Monday, give time to relax and get things together and stuff. And so I kind of go on my own because I don't like getting up at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And unless I have to, there's certain reasons and odd and end things where I have to, but for the most part, you know, I travel on my own because I know my set schedule, and it's easier for me to work myself around my schedule than work 2 to 3 guys around 2 to 3 different schedules.
Just makes everything so much more easier for yourself, like you said, huh?
Yeah, it's a
Sage.
little bit more expensive, but
Eh, yeah,
it's,
but
it can be easier.
gotta get both sides of the coin in there, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, double-edged
Sage,
sword.
overall here, like I said, I think you've got a super impressive kind of ball rolling right now, and I'm definitely excited to see what you do this coming spring and summer. Life term goals or kind of like in this sport, Sage, is there anything specific that you're kind of shooting for? Obviously, right now, you're already in that PRCA circuit or the higher league, I guess. But what do you have in mind for the future, Sage?
I mean, right this second, I'm just trying to get my name out there. Right. I still want to ride that 60, 70, 80% of my bulls. But right now, I'm just trying to get my name out there, kind of put my foot in the door of different events and see what I like, what I don't like, kind of figure out what path I want to take, and then go from there. I would, I, I kind of see myself being at the NFR within 2 years. That's my goal. Give give me a full year on my permit, and then depending on how this year goes, I'll either jump into my rookie year this next year or 2 years, just kind of depending on how all the permit events go and things. But right now, my goal is to be at the NFR within 2 years, and then obviously be winning rounds and winning the world at the NFR in
Be
those two
com
years.
exactly, yeah, be competitive. And now, Sage, like I said, I think you definitely show a lot of maturity, which is important in the sport, as you've kind of found out. And no, like I said, I'm excited to see what you do in the next couple of years. But no, thanks for also taking the time to talk to us today and coordinate this up. But yeah, no, thank you, thanks so much for coming out to the Zoom call with me.
Yeah, thank you.
No, for sure, brother. Thanks. We'll catch you guys next time on Boots, Shoots, and Buckles. Thank you.